Welcome back, my friends, to another video here on the channel. Today, I want to talk about Resident Evil Village. Full spoilers in this video. If you want to see my spoiler-free video, you can check that out. I'll link it down in the description below. We kind of kept it spoiler-free, but if you're here, I'm assuming you don't mind spoilers, okay? You've been warned. It's a spoiler-filled video, like no holding back. We're talking about all the major plot points because these are things I got to get off my chest because they are huge. So, really quick though, before we jump into the video, the way this is going to be kind of formatted is that you're going to hear me talking as if the spoiler-free video and the spoiler video were one video, and the reason for that, like I mentioned in the spoiler-free video, is because they were supposed to be two parts of one video, but then they ended up being kind of lengthy on their own regards, so I ended up deciding to split them up into two sections. So keep that in mind as you're watching this video. Also, if you are new to the channel, be sure to subscribe, do a variety of gaming content. If you enjoy this video, leave it a like, and let me know your guys' thoughts of Resident Evil Village in the comment section below. It was crazy. You can watch my full playthrough Let's Play series here on the channel. I'll link that playlist also down in the description below if you guys want to see that. Without further ado, my friends, let's jump into the spoilers of Resident Evil Village. The hood is down, the hat is backwards. It is time to jump into the juicy stuff, my friends. So here we go. Full spoilers. I am not holding anything back. This is not mild spoilers. This is literally like you're gonna hear like pretty much the majority of the plot of the game here. Okay, there's some pretty big stuff. I'm not holding back because it was absolutely insane. So Mother Miranda is the main villain, and you don't really know much about Mother Miranda at the beginning of the game, but you start learning more and more about her, and there is a lab. She has a lab that you end up going into near the end of the game, and there are a bunch of notes, and there are a bunch of like kind of imagery and stuff, and you could see kind of like, all of her experiments and whatnot. There's books on all four of the lords. So Lady Dimitrescu, there's Maru, I don't know how to pronounce his name, the big guy, he's from the swamps. There's Angie, the creepy little doll. Oh my goodness, go watch part 4 if you want to see me get really freaked out in my playthrough. There is what's the fourth one now? The guy with the glasses. That was the fourth, right? Yeah. So those four apparently were experiments. So the whole thing is that, not Angie, excuse me, Mother Miranda, she lost her child in the 1900s to the Spanish flu, and she has been trying to revive her. She has been trying to find a way to revive her, and this is where the mold comes in, right? Now, there's one part that I was getting a little bit confused with. I don't know if this was the source of the mold, but it's like a mesolite, I believe is how you pronounce it. I believe that's the source of the mold, and it has a giant heart. But keep that in mind for in a minute. So, Mother Miranda, she basically has been trying for all these years to revive her dead child, and that's why you got all these crazy creatures around. That's why Lady Dimitrescu is a thing. Angie, Moreau, or however you pronounce his name, Heisenberg, that was his name. That's why they're all in existence. So she basically in some of these notes talks about them and how it just kind of studies she did on them, and saying that it was quite remarkable. Like Lady Dimitrescu, for example, she has the ability to regenerate very fast, which is why she can just grow super long nails into blades, which is really freaky, for example, right? And all that, but she requires to eat and drink human blood every so often to stay alive. It's creepy. But basically, the test she ran on these people has turned them into what they are. Now, she basically kidnapped them, I guess, as children, and she would do tests on children. And that's kind of what this village is. I know, it's really creepy, right? And so Heisenberg actually is pretty pissed off about that, and by the time you kill the other 3 lords, he tries to kind of create a pact with you. He's like, let's use Rose to kill Mother Miranda because Rose is super powerful, which, keep that in mind, that's very interesting. And basically what happens from there is that you basically you're like, no man, I'm not gonna use my daughter. What are you saying? And so basically you end up having to fight him eventually towards the end of the game. Now, here's where things get super, super crazy, okay? So we heard, all this. That's pretty much, honestly, the gist of it. I mean, there's some pretty cool story tidbits to the rest of the 4 lords, but the majority of what I want to talk about is kind of towards the end. Well, here, let's backtrack a minute. I mentioned earlier in the spoiler-free section Duke. So Duke is very interesting because he helps you throughout the game, but then he, like with, you know, being a merchant and selling you things, but he also, it's weird. He gives you like these tidbits of information and tries to point you in the right direction. And he seems like there's something more to him. I don't know what his motive is, you know, I don't know what his agenda is, but he's helping you for some reason. And he seems good, but I don't understand it. It doesn't really, I don't know if there's notes maybe I missed about Duke somewhere, but from what I seen, it was never fully explained, you know, what is up with him. But towards the end of the game, this is kind of like I'm talking about 2 or 3 things at once now, to explain 2 or 3 different things, but it all stems from this one thing. When you defeat Heisenberg, Mother Miranda shows up, and she basically literally rips Ethan's heart right out. It is gnarly. It is crazy. It's crazy. I don't know what else to say beyond that. But she basically rips his heart right out, and Ethan essentially or assumingly dies, right? And at that point, you switch over to Chris, and you start to play as him. And that's actually when you find the lab, right? You find the lab. Now, I'm going to be coming back to Duke in a second, but I got to explain things chronologically to get back to Duke. You play as Chris, and you end up finding out basically that Chris was good the whole time, before Ethan dies, by the way. This is right before the Heisenberg boss fight. He basically tells you that the Mia that they shot up in your house was not your wife. It was not the real Mia. Apparently, it was Mother Miranda disguising herself as Mia in your home to basically try to kidnap Rose and use Rose because Rose seemed like the perfect vessel to revive her dead child. What was her name? Ava. Ava? I think it was Ava, if I remember right. So that's kind of what happened, and I was like, what the crap? And so the whole scene where you seen Mia dead on the floor at the very beginning of the game, that was just Mother Miranda faking it. She was just faking it. Pretty insane stuff. The whole time, the real Mia was locked away in a dungeon in the lab of Mother Miranda in the village, which at one point when you get to said lab as Chris Redfield and you read all the notes that are in there, which there's more notes I want to talk about in a second, you find Mia, the real Mia, and Chris is surprised, probably just as surprised as you are as the player. And she basically asks, where's Rose? Where's Ethan? At this point, Chris knew that Ethan had just gotten his heart ripped out, and he tells Mia basically what happened. And it was so weird. She says something like, I promised not to tell anyone, but Ethan is special. I was like, what? What do you mean Ethan is special? And at this point, it cuts back. There's some other dialogue and whatnot, because Chris says, you know, we can still save Rose because Mother Miranda has Rose, and then they leave. But what's interesting is it cuts back to Ethan, who starts to wake up. And then he starts to wake up in some weird world where Evelyn is. And it's like, what is going on? And Evelyn is the creepy girl, super powerful girl, by the way, from Resident Evil 7, who they were doing all kinds of test experiments on, and she ended up being very, very, very powerful. And you thought she was the source of all of the mold, but apparently not. Anyways, so all that to say, Evelyn starts laughing at you. You're in some dimension. I don't know where you are. It's like some afterlife or something. I don't know. And she was laughing at you, saying, like, you're dead. You've always been dead, Ethan. Think about it. You've always been dead. You know, ever since Jack killed you, Jack Baker, in Resident Evil 7 in Louisiana, you've been dead. And it's like, what? What are you saying? And then it has, like, flashbacks and stuff. And it's like, think about it. All the times you got, beat and killed, and you came back, and this and that. And I mean, it's true. Like, he gets his freaking arm cut off time and time again, and he just takes it and he reattaches it. It's like, what? And you think it's just a gameplay mechanic, but obviously there's story tidbits to everything in Resident Evil, so it's not just a gameplay mechanic, or a way to continue using your hand in the game, because you can't go through the game without your hand, right? Anyways, point being is that she's basically saying this, and he's like, no, and he's looking at himself, and something seems weird, and then he wakes up, and he's in the back of Duke's buggy. This is where we get back to Duke. Now, Duke is helping him out. Duke basically says he found him. He's seen the whole fight with Heisenberg and the whole thing with Mother Miranda. And he said it was crazy. And then Ethan's like, you got to take me to Mother Miranda. I got to go save Rose. And Duke is like, I thought you'd say that, so I'm already on the way. So Duke's just helping you out, man, and I don't understand it. But then Duke says something like, are you ready? Because you can't go back to your world or something after this, or something like that, indicating something's up with Ethan. And I still, it was so confusing. So you fight Mother Miranda, and you know, there's a whole thing there that, you know, I don't know if it's completely worth getting into. But basically you fight Mother Miranda. There's a lot of dialogue, and she's trying to turn Rose into the vessel to revive her dead daughter from the 1900s that died from the Spanish flu. And basically, essentially, after a the hardest boss fight in the game, and it's weird because comparatively to the other boss fights, this one seems substantially harder, at least for me. And I had like every single kind of, you know, ammo and weapon and whatever that I could get my hands on. But yeah, so after this boss fight, you basically you save Rose, essentially, right? But prior to that, earlier on, before Chris Redfield found Mia, he found that MOUSEPAD, I think that's how you pronounce it, heart that I spoke about, and he threw a bomb attached to it, and he has a detonator that, you know, he's waiting to detonate, right, the explosives. So this is enough explosives to blow the whole village sky high. And so, again, I'm not sure if I think from my understanding, the MOUSEPAD is the source of the mold, which is crazy. But basically, he goes through all of this, and when we get to the end, after we beat Mother Miranda, Ethan is there with Rose, and he's basically hugging Rose, and there's like sunlight coming in from the top, and something's happening to Ethan's arm. It's like crystallizing, kind of like the way it did to everyone else when you'd kill them in the games, which was really, really odd. And so you see something's wrong with Ethan at this point. Now, I don't know why now, by the way, of all times, why this is happening suddenly. That's the part I'm confused about. But Chris finds him, and Chris basically is trying to help Ethan, and Ethan's saying, I can't do it. And they start moving on and walking a certain duration. And then Ethan's basically like, I can't go on. And I'm not going to make it. And then he's like, tell Mia I love her so much. And he gives Rose a kiss and says he loves her so much. And it's so sad. It makes you want to freaking cry. And he hands Rose to Chris, and then he snatches the detonator, and then he kind of like backs up really quick into the MOUSEPAD kind of gunk area, so Chris can't get to him. And basically Chris has no option but to leave, and Chris is pretty upset about this happening. You know, he's trying to save Ethan. He gets to the chopper. He gets in the chopper. Chopper starts, he gives Rose to Mia. Mia's super happy, but then the chopper starts to close and take off, and Mia's freaking out. Like, where's Ethan? Where's Ethan? And then there's a big explosion because you see Ethan pull the detonator. And Chris tells Mia basically what happened, that he sacrificed himself to save everyone else. And it was like, what? Like, that's insane. Like, what the heck? And he stayed behind. And it's just super sad. And there's just like this huge moment, and then there's the credits, of course. And then once you get to the post-credit scene, what's really cool and crazy is that you see oh my goodness, what's her name? Rose. You see Rose grown up, and she's sitting on a bus, and she's like probably like close to, like, I don't even know how old she is, you know, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, like around that age range probably. I'm not sure exactly where, but she has Ethan's jacket, which, by the way, he put on her before he backed up into the MOUSEPAD. When he gave her to Chris Redfield, he put his jacket excuse me, on her, and to see her still wearing that jacket, it's just crazy. So anyways, she gets off the bus, and she's basically going to her dad's grave, and she's talking to her dad, you know, at his grave, and she's just, you know, reminiscing and missing him. You know, obviously she doesn't really remember him because she was a baby, but she's heard a lot about him, obviously. And then there's a black kind of truck that pulls up with a guy in a suit, a younger guy in a suit, saying, yeah, I found her on the radio in his earpiece. And basically, you know, by the way, that was Ethan's birthday, that specific day that she went to go visit his grave. And basically she starts to walk over to him, and he says that, you know, something about it's time to go, you know, it's time to go do training or whatever. So she's involved with seemingly Chris Redfield's squad to some extent, and that kind of corporation. because what happens, so basically what happens is he jokingly calls her Evelyn, which pisses her off. You know, obviously she knows everything at this point. We don't know how she knows, but she knows everything. So, you know, he jokingly calls her that. Don't know why he does that, but she gets really angry. She grabs him and she's like, don't ever call me that. And he's like, okay, sorry. And there's the guy in the earpiece is like, I can take the shot. It's like, wait, what do you mean this shot? Like a trank shot or what are you talking about here? And then he's like, no, it's just a kid, man. I can handle it. And then Rose says something about like, you know, she says something like, even Chris doesn't know what I'm fully capable of or something like that. So indicating that, you know, they're aware that she's powerful, as was mentioned by all the crazy people in the village, right? Like Mother Miranda and Heisenberg and all them. They said she was powerful, and we still don't know how. But apparently she's powerful. So maybe something got passed down from Ethan and Mia to her, because obviously Mia was infected in 7. She ended up getting the cure, of course. Ethan, something's going on with him. So I don't know. He's powerful in some kind of way. I don't know how. You know, but obviously, well, we know how he can regenerate and all this, but we don't know, I guess, fully. I don't know if he's infected, but apparently he's mold, which, by the way, Evelyn says to Ethan in that kind of afterlife realm earlier in the game, that apparently he's mold. He's like 100% mold or something now. I don't know. So maybe because he got his heart ripped out, he ended up completely transforming into mold. Like he was only part mold at that point. Maybe that's what happened. But anyways, point being is that's kind of what happens. And it just sets up the next game perfectly, because now you have Rose, who apparently is super powerful and apparently is involved with the corporation to some extent. And she seemingly is going to be who we're going to play as in the next game. I would be very surprised if we don't. So it seems like moving forward in Resident Evil 9, you would assume that we're going to play as Rose, which is pretty epic. I mean, it's crazy, you know, carrying on the family name. Super sad that Ethan died, but at the same time, I feel like because he's mold, is he really dead? I feel like we're going to come back around and in 9 or maybe even 10, Resident Evil 10, and we're going to find out that he's actually still alive, but he's mold, right? I feel like that's going to be a story tidbit in the future, and it's going to be pretty crazy, you know, if that's the route they go. And Rose is going to like find him, right? Like, dude, how insane would that be? Like, that's a moment you can't just pass up in this story. You know, they have to do something like that. That'd be nuts, you know, especially, you know, the fact that Rose never really remembered him because she was a baby, right, when he died, assumingly died. So that's the thing, assumingly died. I don't believe he's fully dead. I don't know, maybe he is, but who knows? If he really is that special, can he really fully be dead? I don't know. Anyways, all that to say, there's the notes. This is one thing I want to mention. There's the notes in the lab. I want to go back to that. When you read them, it reveals that Oswell Spencer, who is the founder, the CEO, the president of the Umbrella Corporation, he apparently had some kind of a relationship with Miranda. I don't know. I don't mean necessarily an intimate relationship, though I don't know. Some of the language in there seems like maybe there was a hint of that. I don't know for sure. But basically, he, upon his expeditions and adventures early on, had stumbled across the village, and essentially he had met Mother Miranda. And when he met Mother Miranda, he basically, she taught him all about these viruses and the mold and different things like that. She taught him all of these things, and then at one point he basically went his own way because their goals were different, right? She wanted to just basically revive her dead child, whereas he wanted to basically, you know, control the world and become a god, essentially, right? So he kind of went his own way. But the interesting thing is that is literally the origin point of the Umbrella, right? Apparently, if I read right, and I'm pretty sure I did, the Umbrella symbols that you find around the village is not because Umbrella put that there, but it seems like that's where the symbol came from. It seems like those are Mother Miranda's symbols, and that's a symbol that he took and made his own into the Umbrella, from what I'm understanding, because he talked about these symbols. He talked about these symbols of the Umbrella that were in village, and that he I guess basically was quote unquote inspired by. I don't know if that's the right word to use, but it was very interesting because essentially, he goes on to basically do everything that he did to create, you know, all the viruses that he did that, you know, turned into all the other Resident Evil games that we got. So, put it simply, there is a very good chance that all the other Resident Evils, the way they unfolded would never have happened if it wasn't for Oswald Spencer meeting Mother Miranda all those years back. Like, how insane is that? You know, Umbrella Corporation probably would not have existed if Oswald Spencer never met Mother Miranda in the village all those years back. That is what's crazy about Resident Evil Village. That is what's crazy about this game, is that it goes all the way back and it gives a whole new context to all the other Resident Evil games that is just completely, you know, they completely spun it on its head, basically. And it creates an origin story for you know, the Umbrella. It creates an origin story for these viruses that Oswald Spencer came up with and all these test subjects and whatnot. Like, think about that. All of that you experience in the first Resident Evil games, that is literally because Oswald Spencer met Mother Miranda and she herself taught him about these things. How insane is that? I think that is absolutely crazy, and that was a huge plot point for me when I read those notes. So don't miss those notes when you're reading through the game. So anyways, all that to say, I think that pretty much covers the majority that I wanted to cover. I think the game is really well done. I think you know, I think it was quite enjoyable. It's an easy 9.2 out of 10 for me personally. I really enjoyed it. I think the gameplay mechanics were good as always, you know, as every other Resident Evil game. I love that they brought Duke in. Duke is a really cool kind of character that really helped kind of, just add something to the experience. So all in all, really enjoyable. I don't know, I really love the game. It's really good in my opinion. I think it's a 9.2 out of 10 from where I'm sitting. I love the environments, I love the aesthetics, I love the story. It was just a really crazy experience. So highly recommend giving it a go yourself. Like I said, it's just so unique, man. It's just so unique. It is so insane. Like I said, just the way, you have Duke as a merchant and there's all of that, and he provides, upgrades and different things like that. And then, treasures that you find from enemies when you kill them, which gives you an incentive to actually, kill them. All these different things. It's just phenomenal. Just really phenomenal. So, I quite enjoyed it. I just feel like, I don't know. I haven't played every single Resident Evil. I've played most of them, not all of them. There's a few I'm missing still. But out of the ones I've played, it's the best Resident Evil, hands down. So let me know what you guys think about it in the comment section below. If you guys want to see my whole playthrough, it's live on the channel. I'll link down playlist down in the description below. You can check that out. But let me know your thoughts. If you enjoyed this video, leave it a like, subscribe if you guys new, do a variety of gaming content here on the channel. And I'll catch you guys very soon in another one. Until then, my friends, game on, and thanks for watching.